Today, a Redditor shares a crazy revenge story they got on their ex's husband. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, not wash your hands after peeing? You'll have to wait to leave. Just at the gym working out and as usual went to the toilet after to wash hands, since gyms are a good place to pick up all kinds of nasty bacteria and viruses. MRSA anyone? Anyway, I went in there and there was a guy peeing at the urinal. The sinks and paper towel dispenser where I was directly blocks the entrance and exit. I was just beginning to get paper towels out to dry hands, and the guy zips up and walks toward me, passing by the sinks. Cue revenge. I began drying my hands with the thoroughness of a surgeon prepping for a life or death pediatric last chance case. Guy began to move to one side hoping for an exit, and I ever so slightly shifted my weight so that side was smaller. And just as he moved to the other side, I finished drying and moved to that side to throw the towels away. Or so he thought. It was only a feint. I then shifted back to the open door using the paper towels and then had to lean back yet again to throw them away. It probably only took 30 seconds, but it would have been faster to wash his hands. And to the women reading this, I would say at least 50% of guys don't wash after peeing, and a considerable amount don't wash after crapping either. And to anyone who doesn't bother washing and wonder why you get sick, for freak's sake, takes 20 seconds if you do it thoroughly, less if not. Okay, to be fair, this is a pretty tame one, but can we all agree at least, if you're in public and you use a public restroom, at least in that situation, wash your hands? I get it, there's a decent amount of guys and girls, honestly, out there that just don't do so in their own home. At least do it in public. Fit Discount 3135 commented on the post, I was at the dice table at a casino. I stepped away for a moment to use the restroom. I'm in a toilet stall and I hear someone else come in who also goes to a toilet stall. I hear some of the most unholy H.P. Lovecraftian sounds of passing gas, groans, and splashes one can imagine. I complete my own solid waste ejection and go to the sink to wash up. The dude looks about retiree aged, finishes while I'm at the sink, and he walks right past them. Absolutely has no intention of washing his hands. And I'm certain it's the same guy because there were no other people in the restroom. I go back out to the dice table where my chips are. Guess who's standing 2 people to my left at the table? Freaking HP Buttcraft. I cashed out. I was not going to touch the same dice and chips that he was. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of revenge, it would be amazing if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to my podcast. Our next story is, want to constantly complete do-good tasks on my property despite being told multiple times not to? I'll make sure you have the attention of the entire neighborhood at 6:30 a.m. so you get the recognition you're so desperate for. I already know this could be worse and it's not the end of the world, but it's like death by 1,000 cuts to my patience with this guy. He doesn't comprehend the concept of boundaries. He lives in a crappy apartment building next door to us. Our homes are separated by a small grass of lot that we own. He takes the liberty of coming onto our property, helping without asking. I know, I'm petty and mean, but I hate it. I come from a rural area where you have privacy, separation, and you don't just take the liberty of going onto your neighbor's property, but for some reason, because this is town, people just tolerate it? He's been told numerous times by my fiance kindly, not so kindly, to stop. We can take care of our own, but it doesn't sink in. Family tries to guilt us for being irritated because he has such a big heart. But this is coming from people who don't have an unwelcome dude lurking around the exterior of their home every chance he gets. So I don't give a freak what they have to say. He comes onto our property and goes behind our shed to retrieve our garbage and recycling bins at 8 a.m. the day before trash pickup and drags them up our driveway to the street, flipping the dog out in the process who barks and wakes me up on Sundays. He once took the liberty of cleaning up while we weren't home and raked an area of our grass in our backyard between our shed and home, not even on the property line, and ripped out a shrub my fiance and I planted together. Yeah, first shrub we planted together. It was symbolic and important. He trimmed weeds on the other side of our home that borders the other neighbor. I saw him later that day on his hands and knees in the grass in front of our home, rearranging the little flags we had stuck in the ground. Dude has on multiple occasions walked up to my car in my driveway to initiate friendly, stupid conversation as I'm coming or going. One time, I came home literally in the middle of a breakdown, crying. I was so upset over something, and he walked to my driver's side door between my car and my house and proceeded to lean on my house, obliviously carrying on conversation, apparently too dumb to recognize I was upset. Dude's clueless. I fled in my car to get away. The other day, we had first snow, and he comes into our driveway that goes between our home and our grass lot and proceeds to clear the snow off my work vehicle. Do not touch my vehicles, but definitely not my work vehicle, what the heck? And did so to one of my personal vehicles on the street in front of our house, running his gloves and brush across the paint. I was fuming. This morning, I snapped. 6:30 a.m. on a day I get to sleep in, and I wake up to scrape, scrape, scrape because he's shoveling the 1 centimeter of snow that fell on our stretch of the sidewalk right outside the bedroom window. AKA just scraping the shovel endlessly on the asphalt because apparently he has nothing better to do. I hopped out of bed and came downstairs just in time to see him 2 inches from my living room window wedged between my work vehicle and house clearing snow off said vehicle. The living room window that's supposed to be safe and blocked by my work car so I can let light in without the outside world seeing me in my home. I grabbed my keys, and the second he put his freaking hands on my personal vehicle, I hit the panic alarm. He stopped and stared at the house until the alarm stopped. He went to continue, and I hit the panic again. He acted annoyed and walked away, scraping his way back to his home where he freaking belongs. You want attention for being so helpful? You got it. Stay the freak away from my house, stay the freak off my property, stay the freak out of my driveway, and keep your hands off my freaking vehicles. I can't wait to move back to the country and leave this fishbowl bullcrap behind. Until then, my petty level will be at 1,000 with my car keys in hand because apparently this guy has to be trained like a dog where beep means no. Realistically, I feel like OP could be building up a case with the non-emergency line. I was always told personally that even if something by itself is not like actionable, if you have a neighbor that's pushing the line repeatedly, you call the non-emergency line and you build up a history of this backlog so that at some point it does become actionable. That said, if you want to go the more ethical way and train them using the panic alarm on your car, so be it. I mean, if their IQ number matches the temperature outside on that snowy day and they can't take no for an answer, alarm it up. You got to do what you got to do. RJack151 commented, "Sounds like you need a fence and to call the police on his trespassing." OP responded, "My fiance jokes about getting those super tall border hedges. He calls them cat pea trees for self-explanatory reasons." Our next story is, make me stay late? Okay, I'm taking lunch then. At my job, it used to be when you're done with your assigned task, you go home. Well, my assigned task would not keep me at work past 3 p.m. If I rushed and skipped all my breaks, I could usually be home by 1 p.m. I would still get paid for the whole day. Recently, we got a new boss who added a lot to our workload. She hired a whole bunch of new employees too. Now, it was taking me a little longer to complete my task. She also made a new rule that we must go help a new employee before going home. If I rush and skip all my breaks, I could still make 5 p.m. Then she changed the rules again. Now, nobody goes home until everyone is done. Now, days started getting longer. The workload was increasing and me being a dumb idiot was still working without taking any of my breaks in a desperate attempt to go home earlier. Then, one day soon after the last change to the rules, I finished my task, helped someone else, and had 12 hours on the clock. I get back to the office only for the new boss to stop me. "There are still workers out, so you need to get back out there and help them. Nobody goes home till everyone is done." She then told me to call a new employee who was lagging behind. At this point, I'm ticked. I haven't had my breaks, I'm tired, and I want to go home. Then, the idea struck me. I called the new guy who needed help. He was a 20-minute drive away and was almost done. About 30 minutes of work left. Perfect. I clocked out for lunch as I left the building, drove the work truck down to Wendy's, and had a nice relaxing 30-minute lunch. Clocked back in and called the new guy. He was done and on the way back. I drove back to the office and met a rather angry-looking new boss saying, "You didn't go help so-and-so." I said nope. I took my required lunch and could have taken my 2 required breaks too. This started a whole thing now. Not only am I going to take my sweet time with my tasks, when I'm done with my task, I go straight back to the office. If they try to send me back out, I clock out for my lunch and both my breaks right in front of management. If they still need my help when I get back from break, I'll go and help. It's starting to catch on with the older workers like me. We're all going slower now and taking our breaks at the worst possible times. Every day is a 12-hour shift, but at least it's an easy 12-hour shift with a little petty revenge. You know, even if it's an easy job, I definitely do not envy OP. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, if somebody says, well, I work 12 hours a day, but it's an easy 12 hours, in my mind, I'm still feeling bad for that person because you think about if you were perfect and you had the 8 hours of sleep you should get, you have less than 4 left over by the time you get home. Candykins commented on the post saying, "I'm not sure how much you get for your daily rate, but it sounds like it's time to decide if it's still worth it. I think if I went from getting off between 1 to 3 to suddenly staying past 5 with no pay increase, I'd be weighing my options. When you look at it hourly, is it still worth it?" OP responded, "Our tasks are supposed to take 12 hours to do, so we get paid for a 12-hour shift even if we're done in 4 hours. We only get 1 day off, so I used to bust my butt to get home early. Anything not related to our assigned task is paid out as hourly." Our next story is, you want it? No problem. I hate my mother-in-law. She is the most narcissistic, self-serving human I've ever met. I dread having to see her. She's like a black hole of misery and anxiety sucking the joy from life everywhere she goes. Thankfully, she lives in Long Island and is too scared to drive out of there, so we rarely see her, once or twice a year. We have 3 kids and she's only visited one in the last 5 years because she bought a freaking lamp from an auction in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is only 30 minutes from us, so she's perfectly fine to drive off the island for a lamp, but God forbid it's your grandchild's birthday. I digress. About 5 years ago, my wife and I bought her uncle's cabin in upstate New York. Beautiful 17 acres. The cabin was a little run down, but we fixed it up. We try and go up there as much as often in the summer. The property had a few sheds with tools and whatnot and 2 tractors, big old Ford farm tractors. When we bought it, we specified all contents conveys. Her uncle didn't care about any of the stuff as it's all used for upstate activities. What is he going to do with a tractor in Bay Ridge? Well, after we bought it, my mother-in-law called and said she has stuff there and it's hers and she wants it. She inherited it from her other brother who passed away. She said the chainsaws, one of the tractors, the crap one, and a shop vac was hers, along with a bunch of miscellaneous stuff in one of the sheds. Tools she will never use and don't even know what they do. My wife was a little taken aback. We told her she should have come and gotten everything before we closed. We use some of the tools, but have our own, so I don't really care. We wanted to take down the shed that has her tractor in it, so we told her we can sell the tractor and we'll give her the money. She said no, she wants to keep the tractor. We told her a few times we were planning on getting rid of that shed to build a garage, and we need to get rid of the tractor, and we can bring her the other stuff next time we come down. She was threatening to sue us if we sold any of her stuff, as she's not ready to part with it. My wife was really upset. I told her not to worry, I'll take care of it. The next weekend we were upstate, I had rolled the tractor out of the shed and put together her mom's stuff. My wife asked me what I was doing. I said, just putting your mom's stuff together. She asked why. I said, so we can give it to her or sell it, or she can sell it, but it's gotta go. I'm starting the garage tomorrow. She said, whatever, it can sit outside, I don't care. That night, after everyone fell asleep, I hatched my plan. I had hooked up my trailer, I loaded the tractor, which doesn't run, so I had to winch it on real quiet-like as to not wake anyone. I loaded her toolbox, all the miscellaneous tools in the shed, chainsaws, shop vac into a big butt wooden crate about 4x4x3 tall, because freak her, and hit the road. It's 2.5 hours to my mother's in-laws house. I was trucking. I got there at about 2 a.m. I quietly backed into her driveway. Thankfully, I'm a pro trailer backer-upper. Put the ramps right next to her car, put down the ramps, and had to jack up the trailer a bit to get it to slowly roll off using the winch. Jacks are freaking loud, but I put down a sweater to try and deaden the noise. I put the crate on a dolly and rolled it off down next to the tractor. It was heavy as heck, so I knew I had to get my dolly back so she can't move it, so I jacked it up to slide it off. Easily 300-pound box. The entire time, I can't believe I haven't been caught. She lives in a nice neighborhood and I just started doing sketchy crap at 2 a.m. The cops didn't show up? Whatever. I must have been there for 20 minutes max. I was hustling and had arranged everything for an easy offload. I get out of there laughing my butt off, a grin ear to ear. I know I'm in trouble with my wife in the morning. I was almost home. It's 5:45 and my wife is calling. She asked where I went. I told her I went to get breakfast for everyone, so I stopped, bought a bunch of bagels and coffee and donuts, just giggling to myself like a serial killer at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. I get home and she asked why I still had the trailer hooked up. I says, oh, I wasn't sure if I was going to the lumber yard or not and I didn't feel like unhooking it. I'm trying to hide my excitement for the call, jacked up with adrenaline. 8 a.m. rolled around, nothing. 8:30, nothing. Luckily, it was a little chilly, so no one had gone outside to see the tractor is gone. 9:15, the call came. I see her look at her phone and roll her eyes. Ugh, she hates her mom. I tell her to pick up. As soon as she picks up, you can hear her screaming. My wife is like, what the freak is happening? I walk over, put my hand out, put the phone on speaker and say, you wanted your tractor, you got it, and hung up. I had to explain what I've done to my wife, and she was dying laughing. Thankfully, Black Hole called about 10 more times, all going unanswered. She then texted, I'm calling the police. My wife is starting to panic a bit. I tell her, don't worry, I'll handle it. At about 1 p.m., a Long Island number comes up as so-and-so town police. Oh crap, I pick up. This is Officer so-and-so. I'm here with Black Hole. She said you dumped stuff on her property. I calmly said, that's her stuff. She wanted it. The officer asks her, is this your tractor? Black Hole replies, yes, but I don't want it here. I want them to take it back. The officer says something like, do you have a storage agreement or anything? She says no. I explain the situation to him and he said there's nothing I can do as there wasn't anything wrong unless she wanted to press trespassing charges. But she'd have to prove OP was on her property. Anyone could have dropped it off. At this point, the officer had realized this lady is bat crap crazy and didn't want to deal with this. I thought I might actually get in trouble. Anyway, she didn't talk to us for like 6 months, so really it was a win-win for me. To be fair, what OP did is pretty much the logical thing. If anything, I feel like OP should have done that sooner. I feel like OP should have reached out to their mother-in-law and been like, hey, you know what? Alright, it's your stuff, I concede it, I'm on my way, I'll drop it off in a couple of hours, see you there, by the way, I'm turning off my phone now. What's she gonna do? Say, no, you can't bring me my stuff? It is my stuff, but I want you to hold on to it for me. Radiant Job 4499 commented, so what happened to the tractor? OP replied, it's been in her tiny garage for the last few years collecting dust and upsetting her. I giggle every time I think about her having to open the garage door. Our next story is, my roommate kept snoring and refused to address it, so I recorded her and played it whenever she tried to rest. I work and live on a cruise ship. Depending on the route, we dock every 2 to 4 days. Have one roommate and we have bunk beds with me on top. I'm a performer, so we get to pick our roommates. And my roommate never told me that she snored. Very loudly too. I tried earplugs. Nope. I have big over-the-ear headphones and was playing music, still can hear her. I can even hear her over the ship docking and our room is near the anchor. It's loud. Her snoring is not only loud, it's concerning because she chokes in her sleep too. The first time I heard it, I almost fell out of my bunk to rush down and check on her, thinking she was having some kind of medical emergency. I talked to her to see if we could come up with a solution, and she basically shot me down because she thought since she was sleeping fine, it wasn't a big deal. Also, it's really hard to change roommates unless something major happens, and snoring isn't considered one of those. Despite me voicing my lack of sleep, I did my best to live with it, but I was fed up when I got done with a long workday, got up at 9 a.m. and didn't officially get done with work until 11 p.m. and had to be up at 6 a.m. and the snoring only allowed me 2 hours of sleep. So, I decided to record her. The next day, when I was going to the room for a break, she was there and said she was going to take a nap. I was like, okay. And as she laid down, I started playing her snoring. She immediately shot up and looked at me like I was insane. When all I did was stare at her, she asked me to turn it off. I just said, well, this is you snoring, and you said it's not a big deal, so why should I? She gets really mad, says a few choice words, and leaves the room. For about 3 days, whenever she tried to rest, I played her own snoring back. Finally, I got called in for a meeting with our manager because a roommate was mad at me. I explained my side of the story because roommate failed to mention that she refused to address her snoring and made it seem like I was just playing loud noises for the heck of it. Roommate is angry that the manager didn't fully take her side and even told her she was being difficult by not trying to address her snoring and brushing off my need for sleep. We ended up getting moved with new roommates though. Let me be the first to say, because I know a lot of people want to point it out, this is obstructive sleep apnea. Now, I'm no scientist, I'll admit that. I'm no, what's a sleep doctor called? Okay, I googled it and I got 3 different answers. A somnologist, a pulmonologist, and a very specialized one called an otolaryngologist. Anyways, I'm not any of those, but I can still tell you're not supposed to be choking in your sleep. Stupid Monster commented, this is definitely sleep apnea. I had the same thing before I finally broke down and got a CPAP. My girlfriend has never been happier. No more snoring. The original Mo Focus replied, my wife snores terribly sometimes. She says it's because she's tired and takes a pill to sleep. Anyway, my son started band and chose the euphonium. He has to blow into the mouthpiece by itself like 20 minutes a day, and the whole time he's over here like, wow. I can't help but chuckle to myself. He thinks I'm laughing at him, and I tell him no, I hear this sound waking me up at night sometimes. Our next story is, this guy spoke rudely to me on the phone while I tried picking him up for Uber, so I taught him a lesson. Back in 2018 or 2019, I was an Uber driver. One night, sometime in early winter, I had to pick up this group of 3 to 4 guys in downtown Detroit who were maybe in their 40s. They were only about 5 minutes away from me, and honestly, it wasn't even that cold outside. Or at least I didn't think so, but anyway, I got to where the GPS said they were. But as often happened, they weren't at the exact pickup spot. So I give them a call, or maybe they called me, and I had a very brief chat with the guy who called the Uber asking, where are you? We're here, what about you, etc. The guy was totally calm and polite. But then, all of a sudden, one of his friends wanted to talk to me and got his phone from him. He had kind of a British/Indian accent and asked me where I was. I tried reasoning with him, but the guy kept talking back to me very condescendingly, saying things like, listen, we're freezing out here. There's no reason for you to be taking so long. Look, we're standing in the middle of the sidewalk. It is so cold outside. I don't understand why you're making us wait like this. I truly did not care for his tone or the way he spoke to me. It was like he was trying to mimic politeness at first, but his disrespect escalated quickly. He barely even gave me a chance to respond. Heck, they were hardly waiting a few minutes at that point, and he was already running his mouth. The dude just couldn't hide his bad attitude or inability to listen. So at some point I thought, you know what, you're just gonna have to wait in the cold even longer, freaker. I hung up on him, canceled the ride, and drove away. On to the next passenger. I hope you had fun freezing your butt off, jerk. Now, I don't know where this took place. I don't know how busy the area was, but unless you're living literally in a very busy city or close to a lot of activity, isn't it almost always going to take a little bit for the Uber driver to get there? I just don't understand people who treat people who are just trying to make a living like Uber drivers like that. Come on, man, can't you do your job? 6 minutes to get to the pickup spot? What's wrong with you? You are what's wrong with me right now. 10Zipper commented, yeah, as a cab driver, I've done the same kind of thing. I'm right in front of the building. No, you're not. I'm double parked with my flashers on. 1231 Capitol Ave, right? Yep, that's where I'm at. Well, turn your GPS on. You don't know where you're supposed to be, or other rude crap. Click. On to the next customer. Our next story is, ex's husband can't seem to get over me. So I dated a girl long distance for a year back in 2010. We broke up rather amicably, or so I thought. Her new boyfriend, now her husband, called me about a month later telling me that she had been seeing him behind my back and that she never really loved me, etc. Personally, I laughed it off. I knew the relationship wasn't going anywhere and I'd been looking for an easy out for months. Being long distance made it much easier, but apparently it made him feel good about himself. Fast forward a few years, they're married and he's traveling for work, which included a layover in my city. He posted something about me from the airport and tagged a mutual friend of mine, so I saw the post. Something along the lines of, "Mr. Steal Your Girl Back in Your City." I know it was about me because the friend he tagged asked what he was talking about and he mentioned me. Apparently he's made several posts like this, both before and after I saw this one. I haven't seen or talked to either my ex or him since about a month after he called me years ago, during which there were several petty interactions. However, the fact that I was still on his mind after a few years, thinking that he had won some sort of competition against me, got my petty revenge thoughts brewing. I mean, he thinks it's a petty competition, so why not step up to the plate and take a few, metaphorical, swings? On this occurrence, I looked through his socials and noticed that they were living in my ex's house. So I knew the address. I also knew that you can sign people up to be visited by Jehovah's Witnesses. Fast forward another few months, there's a new post about him having to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses coming to his door 8 times in a month. I've never understood the concept of holding a grudge for so darn long. Okay, well, let me walk that back and say I can understand the grudge, but like actively acting out against it. Like, I'm legitimately curious what somebody would have done in your life that would justify continuing to take petty shots at them years later. HMS Slarty Bartfast commented, "So, have you had a divorce lawyer call for him at home when he's at work yet?" OP replied, "Oh, there's a story close to that, happened earlier. Involves his ex, prior to my ex, and her divorce lawyer. The day after his call, he sent me an explicit pic of him and my ex in bed. This guy is overweight, hairy, and not well endowed, and is easily identifiable in the photo. First thing I did was contact his ex-wife with whom he was having a lengthy custody battle with over his 2 children with her. She directed me to her divorce lawyer, to whom I provided the picture. I heard it came up in the proceedings. No idea what kind of outcome it had, though." Our next story is, "Blocked me from leaving the bus? Here, have some snark." Once upon a time, I took the bus into downtown Philly. The stop where I wanted to disembark is a place where a lot of people get off the bus, and a lot of other people board the bus. So there I was, standing near the exit and waiting for the door to open. However, as soon as the bus opened the door, the lots of people who were standing outside all crowded up to the door, effectively blocking everyone from getting off. I stepped out of the bus into the throng, excusing myself as I went because there was no way to avoid physical contact with these folks on my way out. Sure enough, I brushed against someone on my left and someone else on my right. The woman on my left ignored me, the one on my right turned and cursed at me. I stopped and turned to her and said, "What do you want me to do, fly over the crowd? My broom's in the shop. If my broom were working, I wouldn't need to take the bus." Now the crowd was all laughing, all but Miss Grouchy Face, who glared daggers at me. I just turned and resumed walking. I had places to be. Can we petition to Congress that they need to pass a law that codifies that people cannot block the entrance and exit when the people who were getting off haven't even gotten off yet? Elevators, buses, anything of that like. If you aren't apologetic about blocking it, you should at least get a trip to the station. LV Borzoi commented, "LOL reminds me of a situation I was in. I was working in an appliance repair shop, so I was trying to change an AC compressor and it failed twice. The female tech, F, started getting on me for it and everything else. I was working next to H, male tech, because the oxy torch was there. He tells F that I did the install correctly. 3rd try worked right. I get ready to go to lunch and I picked up the broom from the corner and propped it against F's workbench. She asks, "What's this for?" I responded, "It's in case you want to go somewhere while I'm at lunch." H about died laughing. FYI, we got a batch of defective compressors. Ambitious Yogurt 226 commented, "I had this 2 days ago. I was getting off a busy train when a guy got on before I could move. He appeared to have a personal issue or something similar, so I let that one go, thinking I'll just go after he's out of the way. However, the next guy continued to try to push past us to get on. I'm a big girl, so I used the superpower to stop him dead and just walk through him with the others following me. The train is not going to freaking leave with a group of people still waiting to get on. That's why there's conductors. Stop being an impatient jerk. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy revenge story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.